The person you love opened up to their mother about you for the first time. And shockingly, she cried out, "You, my beloved child." The person you love finally gathered the courage to speak about you to their mother, and the moment your name left their lips, the room fell into an uneasy silence. She looked at them with an expression they had never seen before. Then, without warning, she cried out, "You," but she never finished the sentence. Instead, she covered her mouth as though she had realized something too important to say too quickly. Why did she stop? What was she about to reveal? The person you love couldn't understand what had changed in just a few seconds. Their heart raced with questions they weren't prepared to ask. Don't skip. The truth hiding behind that unfinished word is far more emotional than anyone expected, and every moment from here only deepens the mystery. Their mother slowly sat down, staring at an old photograph resting quietly on a nearby shelf. It wasn't just any picture. It carried a memory she had kept hidden for years, one connected to promises, regrets, and a story she believed would never return. The person you love noticed tears beginning to gather in her eyes, but those tears didn't seem to come from fear. They came from recognition. She whispered that sometimes life places two people on paths that seem impossible to understand until the right moment arrives. Yet she still refused to explain why hearing your name affected her so deeply. Instead, she asked one unexpected question: "Are you absolutely certain this is the person your heart keeps choosing?" That single question only made everything more confusing. Stay till the end, because the answer she was waiting for could change everything they believed about you. The person you love answered without hesitation. Yes. No matter how complicated life had become, no matter how many doubts had appeared along the way, something always pulled them back toward you. Their mother closed her eyes as another tear slipped down her face. She finally admitted she had been hoping this conversation would happen one day, but never imagined it would happen so soon. She reached into a small wooden drawer and carefully removed a folded letter that had remained untouched for years. She held it tightly, hesitating as if opening it would awaken memories that could never be hidden again. "If what you're telling me is true," she whispered, "then this letter belongs to both of you." She slowly unfolded the paper, took a deep breath, and the very first line she read made both of them freeze in complete disbelief. "Something huge is waiting for you." Because the words written on that page were never supposed to be seen today. "My beloved child," just as the silence became almost unbearable, the person you love leaned closer, desperate to see the words written on that fragile page. Their mother instinctively pulled the letter back against her chest, as though protecting something too precious to reveal all at once. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of a memory she had carried alone for years. She looked directly into their eyes and quietly asked, "Before you read this, are you ready to discover that not everything you believed about this connection is true?" The question echoed through the room. Why would an old letter matter today? What secret had remained hidden for so long? Don't skip, because what came next was something neither of them expected. After several long moments, she finally began reading aloud. The letter did not mention names immediately. Instead, it described two people whose lives would cross again after being separated by misunderstandings, difficult timing, and choices they never truly wanted to make. Every sentence sounded strangely familiar. The person you love felt as if the letter was describing their own journey with you, even though it had been written years earlier. Their mother paused after nearly every line, wiping away fresh tears before continuing. Then she reached one sentence that caused her voice to crack completely. She couldn't finish it. She simply whispered, "This is why I cried when I heard your name." But she still wouldn't explain what those words really meant. Stay till the end, because the missing piece was closer than ever. The person you love gently took the letter and continued reading for themselves. Their heartbeat quickened with every line until they reached a folded note tucked inside the final page. Unlike the older writing, this note looked much newer, as though someone had added it long after the original letter was written. There was no signature. No date. Only one short message: when the right moment arrives, tell them the truth before silence steals another chance. Both of them stared at the note in disbelief. Who had placed it there? When had it been added? And why did it seem to speak directly to this very moment? Their mother slowly looked toward the window, took a deep breath, and said, "There is one person who knows the entire story, and they are coming here tonight." A faint knock echoed through the house, and the person you love immediately looked toward the front door. Their mother didn't move. She simply closed her eyes for a brief moment, as if she had been expecting that sound all along. "They're here," she whispered, her voice carrying both relief and nervousness. The person you love felt their pulse quicken. Who could possibly know the rest of the story? Why had everyone protected this secret until now? As the door slowly opened, an older family friend stepped inside with a small leather journal carefully wrapped in faded cloth. The moment their mother saw it, fresh tears filled her eyes. "I prayed this would never be needed," she murmured. "But now, there is no reason to keep it hidden. Don't skip." The journal held answers that could reshape everything they thought they understood. The visitor placed the journal on the table but didn't open it immediately. Instead, they looked directly at the person you love and asked a question no one had expected. "Have you ever wondered why, despite every setback, your heart always found its way back to the same person?" Before an answer could come, they slowly untied the cloth and revealed dozens of handwritten pages filled with memories, conversations, and reflections collected over many years. Some pages spoke about missed opportunities. Others described moments when fear had spoken louder than honesty. Then the visitor stopped at one carefully folded page marked with a simple ribbon. "This," they said quietly, "is the page your mother has never been able to read without crying. Stay till the end, because the reason behind her tears was finally beginning to surface." With trembling hands, the person you love unfolded the ribbon-marked page. The handwriting was unmistakably familiar to their mother, and she lowered her head before the first sentence was even spoken aloud. It wasn't a confession of regret or a story of loss. It was a heartfelt promise that one day, if two people continued choosing kindness over pride, their paths would cross again when both were finally ready to understand each other. The room fell silent as every word settled into their hearts. For the first time, the person you love realized their mother hadn't cried because she opposed this connection. She cried because she had recognized a story she believed had been lost forever. But before anyone could say another word, a folded photograph slipped from between the journal's pages, and the face captured in that picture left every person in the room completely speechless. A long silence settled over the room as the photograph rested on the floor. The person you love slowly reached down and picked it up, expecting to see a forgotten family portrait. Instead, they froze. The picture showed two smiling people standing beside a quiet lakeside path many years earlier, but it wasn't the scenery that stole their breath. It was the expression on their mother's face. She wasn't simply smiling, she was looking towards someone just outside the frame with unmistakable hope. Turning the photograph over, they discovered only a single handwritten sentence: "Some promises are fulfilled long after the people who made them stop believing." Their mother gently whispered, "I never thought this picture would return to us." Why had this photograph been hidden for so many years? And who had decided that today was finally the right day for it to reappear? Something huge is waiting for you. The family friend carefully took the photograph and pointed toward a tiny detail almost impossible to notice. In the distant background stood another figure, blurred by time but still recognizable enough to raise even more questions. "Most people never see this," they said softly. "They focus on the people in front, but the real story has always been hiding behind them." The person you love leaned closer, their heart pounding faster with every passing second. Their mother nodded through quiet tears, admitting that she had noticed the hidden figure years ago but had never found the courage to explain why it mattered. She confessed that this unexpected discovery had changed the way she viewed your connection from the very beginning. Don't skip, because the identity of that distant figure would reveal why she reacted so emotionally the first time your name was spoken. Just as the family friend prepared to explain everything, an unexpected phone call interrupted the silence. Everyone in the room turned toward the ringing phone, but no one reached for it immediately. The caller ID displayed a name that made both the visitor and your loved one's mother exchange stunned glances. "It can't be," the visitor whispered under their breath. After a deep breath, your loved one finally answered. For several seconds, they said nothing at all. They simply listened. Then their expression changed completely. They slowly lowered the phone and looked at their mother with disbelief in their eyes. "They know about the letter," they whispered. "And they said there's one final piece we've never seen, but it isn't here. It's waiting somewhere none of us expected." As those words hung in the air, every question suddenly pointed toward a place no one had mentioned before. The room felt different after that phone call. No one rushed to speak because every person seemed to realize they had reached the edge of an even deeper mystery. Your loved one finally broke the silence by asking the only question that mattered: "Where is it?" The voice on the phone answered with calm certainty: "It's somewhere that has been waiting for years, untouched, unopened, and forgotten by almost everyone except one person." Their mother slowly stood up, her expression changing from confusion to quiet recognition. She whispered, "I know exactly where they're talking about." But before she explained, she asked everyone to promise one thing. They had to keep an open heart, because what they were about to discover was not a secret meant to divide people. It was a truth meant to heal them. Without wasting another moment, they left together and drove toward a peaceful countryside home that had belonged to a beloved relative many years before. The place had remained empty for a long time, preserved almost exactly as it had been. Dust covered the windows, yet everything inside seemed strangely untouched by time. Your loved one's mother walked directly toward an old wooden cabinet, never hesitating, as though she had memorized every step decades earlier. Hidden behind a row of weathered books was a small carved box secured with a delicate brass clasp. Her hands trembled as she lifted it free. "I promised I would never open this unless the right day finally arrived," she said softly. "Stay till the end, because the contents of that little box carried a message that had waited years to find the person it was truly meant for." When the clasp finally clicked open, everyone leaned in. Inside were several carefully folded letters, a pressed white flower, and a small envelope with one sentence written across the front, "For the one who never stopped believing." Your loved one carefully picked it up, but before opening it, they noticed something else tucked beneath the envelope. A recent photograph. It wasn't faded like the others. It had been taken only a short time ago. The moment they turned it over, every heartbeat in the room seemed to stop. On the back, in fresh handwriting, were the words, "The journey isn't ending here. The person you've been searching for already knows the truth, and they're preparing to meet you sooner than anyone imagined." The instant those words were read aloud, footsteps approached the front door, followed by 3 slow, unmistakable knocks that no one had expected to hear that day. 3 steady knocks echoed through the quiet house, each one sounding louder than the last. No one moved immediately. Your loved one exchanged a nervous glance with their mother, whose eyes had already filled with tears once again. She took a slow breath and whispered, "If it's who I believe it is." Everything changes after this moment. The family friend carefully placed the old box back onto the table as everyone turned toward the front door. Your loved one reached for the handle with trembling fingers, their heartbeat impossible to ignore. The door slowly opened, revealing a familiar face carrying another sealed envelope. The visitor smiled gently before saying, "I was asked to deliver this only after the first box was opened. Don't skip." The mystery was no longer growing by accident. It had been unfolding exactly as someone had planned. The envelope was unlike the others. It was sealed with dark blue wax and marked only with a simple symbol that your loved one's mother recognized instantly. She closed her eyes and whispered, "I haven't seen this mark in years." The messenger explained that they had never been told what was inside, only that it had to reach this family on the exact day the hidden letters were discovered. As the seal was carefully broken, a folded page slipped into your loved one's hands along with a small silver key. The letter contained only a few carefully chosen sentences, yet every word carried remarkable weight. The final truth has never been locked inside these letters. It has always been waiting behind one last door. When you find it, every unanswered question will finally make sense. Something huge is waiting for you, because the tiny key resting in their palm clearly belonged to something far older than anyone expected. Your loved one's mother stared at the silver key for several silent moments before an unexpected smile appeared through her tears. "I know this key," she said softly. "I thought it had disappeared forever." She walked toward an old bookshelf at the far end of the room and gently removed a weathered journal that had remained untouched throughout the entire evening. Behind it was a narrow wooden panel hidden so perfectly that no one else had ever noticed it. With unsteady hands, she inserted the silver key into a small lock concealed within the wall. A quiet click broke the silence. The hidden panel slowly swung open, revealing a small compartment containing a single velvet-covered journal and one photograph placed neatly on top. But the instant your loved one picked up that photograph, their expression completely changed. They turned it toward everyone else, and the person standing beside you in that picture was someone none of them had imagined could still be connected to this story. A stunned silence filled the hidden room as everyone stared at the photograph. Your loved one looked from the picture to their mother, searching for an explanation that refused to come. The face beside you in the image belonged to someone the family had spoken about only in passing, someone everyone believed had quietly disappeared from this chapter of life long ago. Yet there they were, standing with a warm smile, holding the very velvet journal that had just been discovered. Your loved one's mother slowly reached out, brushing her fingertips across the faded photograph. "I never wanted you to learn about this like this," she whispered. "But perhaps this was always the only way." Every answer seemed close enough to touch, yet an even greater question now stood in front of them. Why had this person remained hidden for so many years? With careful hands, your loved one opened the velvet journal. The first few pages contained ordinary memories, family gatherings, and handwritten reflections. Then the tone changed. A series of entries described someone who had quietly watched your story unfold from a distance, not to interfere, but to make sure hope was never completely lost. There were notes about difficult seasons, unexpected reunions, and moments when one small decision had changed everything without anyone realizing it. One sentence stood out above all the others: "Love often survives because someone chooses patience instead of fear." Your loved one paused, reading those words again and again. Their mother nodded through tears and admitted that she had carried the burden of that truth for years, waiting for the day her child would be ready to understand it. Stay till the end, because the final pages of the journal held something no one in the room had ever seen. As the journal neared its end, a neatly folded sheet slipped onto the floor. Unlike the older pages, it had been written recently. The handwriting was steady, and the message was direct. If you are reading this, then the time for silence has ended. Stop searching for signs from the past. The future is already moving toward you. Beneath those words was an address and a date that matched the very next morning. No explanation. No signature. Only one final line written across the bottom: "Come only if you're prepared to hear the truth that has been waiting for both of you." Your loved one looked up in disbelief, while their mother quietly whispered, "Tomorrow. Everything we've protected will finally be revealed." Morning arrived far sooner than anyone had expected, yet not a single person in the house had truly slept. The address from the letter seemed ordinary on the surface, but every mile leading toward it felt heavier than the last. Your loved one held the journal tightly, replaying every unanswered question in their mind. Why had someone arranged this meeting with such care? Why had every clue pointed to this exact place? As they finally reached the destination, they found a quiet garden surrounded by towering trees, peaceful enough to hide even the loudest secrets. Waiting near an old stone bench stood a single figure, calm and patient, as though they had known this moment would come for years. "Don't skip." The first word spoken there would change the meaning of everything that had happened before. The stranger welcomed them with a gentle smile, but instead of introducing themselves, they asked your loved one to sit down and listen without interruption. Your mother didn't cry because she feared your future, they began softly. She cried because, in the instant she heard your name, she realized the story she had tried to protect had finally reached its final chapter. They carefully unfolded another handwritten page, explaining that every letter, every photograph, and every hidden journal had been prepared to ensure one thing, that when the truth was revealed, it would strengthen hearts instead of breaking them. Your loved one glanced toward their mother, who silently nodded through grateful tears. For the first time, it became clear that her silence had never been about keeping people apart. It had been about waiting for the right moment to bring everyone together. Then the stranger revealed the final envelope that had remained sealed until this very more.